Good morning. You are listening to Flora Rockstars, rocking the real estate news and all things local. We got a great show today. We have three. That's right, three special guests today. And of course, we're going to hear about community events. We're going to hear about numbers aren't sexy, but they tell a story. Don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Oh, we're back. Good morning on this balmy 27-degree weather here in southern middle Tennessee, Lawrenceburg. And like I said, we got a great show today. I want to say good morning to Pat.
Good morning.
I want to say good morning to Nathan.
Good morning. Good morning.
And a shout out to some of our agents, Holly, who is homesick, and Sandra, who is homesick, and Tori, who is homesick. So hopefully y'all are getting better soon, and we will see you shortly.
So are they at home sick or are they homesick?
Oh, they're at home sick.
Oh, okay. I thought they were on a trip or something.
No, they are at home sick. And that's my phone ringing. And this morning, as you can see, Close It Cody is showing off his latest fashion of today, which he absolutely hates, is his groovy coat. His groovy winter coat.
Make it go in circles.
All right, Pat. How was everybody's weekend? Nathan, you guys had something exciting happen at your house.
What?
You got heat.
Oh yeah, finally the HVAC is now complete, I guess. Thinking about it, I don't think they need to come back to do anything else.
Yay.
Other than maybe a little bits of things, but it's up and running and 74 degrees inside.
Oh my God. How are you standing that?
I'm actually okay, but I've been sick. You know, it might change here in the next couple days where, okay, let's go 72. Let's see how everybody is.
Oh, no.
But,
Mine sits at 69.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's a good temperature. My our thermostat is in a not ideal position and location in the house because just the way it just has to be there. It's central, but it's in the kitchen side of the central part of the house. So, yeah, I think he wants down.
Yes, he does. He's out of the coat. There we go.
He says, I'm free. I'm free.
So, yeah. So, if you're doing any type of cooking or anything, it kind of throws off what the rest of the house is, sort of stuff. So you just got to keep an eye on it and
Keep your fan on, and maybe
Yeah,
that'll
do.
help
Yeah, it does.
circulate it.
Oh yeah, it does. That 6 foot
I know.
span of a fan, it pushes out some air. So,
Span of a fan.
That's right. Yeah, the HVAC got done just in time. The girls, Clarissa, she was sick for 4 or 5 days, and the HVAC got done and on and circulating all that germy air just in time, right before she gets better. So then everybody else gets sick.
Yeah. Maybe they have those filters that filter out sicknesses.
Hypoallergenic. Or
Yeah,
something.
they
I
have
don't
something
know.
like that. They say it's not good for your HVAC unit because it doesn't allow enough airflow
Oh.
through them, so it makes your unit work harder.
Unless you change it more often. You know,
Yeah, who's
there's-
got time for that?
there's different. They say if your house is really dusty or,
Mm.
Well, our guys told us, he said, do not go out and spend a bunch of money on your filters. Go out and get the cheap filters that fit and just replace them often, like you guys were saying.
Monthly.
And then he said, since you guys have cats, get lemon pledge and spray the filter
to catch it.
to catch the cat hair.
And dander, yeah.
Yeah, and it also smells like the lemon pledge, so or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
HVAC people will tell you to get the cheap filters.
And just
And
replace them.
Just replace them often. And especially, if you have animals, if your house is dusty. And mine is dusty because we are surrounded by mud.
Mm,
And when you bring it in, it turns to
dries.
dust.
Yeah.
And
My house
then
is
when
just
that-
dusty because I don't clean.
well, mine used to be, so yeah.
Yeah, but then when that mud finally does dry, if it'll ever dry, it'll be dust around anyways on the
Outside.
outside.
Oh yeah. So
All right. How was your weekend?
it was shocking. It really was.
What'd you do? You
With
stick your finger in
electricity.
the
Yeah.
I know.
Can you see my hair standing up? That's what it was doing this morning. No, a friend of ours passed
Oh, I
away
know.
suddenly. I mean, he's the guy that he's buying a bunch of stuff. He was buying a bunch of stuff in Lawrenceburg. He bought Leadbetters and Providence Hall and all of that stuff. And he bought our property and helped us get into our new house. And he died in a freak accident.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Sad.
It's very sad. He leaves behind a wife and 10
kids. So you never know. Hug
No.
your mamas, hug your babies. Tell them you love them every day because you just never know.
You never know.
Yep.
You never know.
Love you, Mom.
Thanks, son.
He didn't hug.
Hugs.
He didn't hug you though.
I know.
But anyway,
I'm sick. I won't do that to her.
Thanks.
yeah.
Well, I
You
mean,
made me sick.
I didn't make you sick.
Yes, you did. You made me sick.
Y'all just stay away from me. I
Yeah.
don't want any kind of your crud.
So after this, I'm gonna have to spray this with the Lysol. So
Or you
nobody
just
else
keep
can-
catching it each week.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah, and please don't let Holly use it because she's sick as I've ever seen her. So
Yeah, she sounded pretty bad.
yeah,
Get her some ivermectin.
I think that's what she's taking. She was taking some
I
funny
have
word.
No idea.
No.
She told me last night.
But
Bless
yeah,
you.
Excuse me.
go to co-op, get some ivermectin.
Okay.
All right. Well, my weekend, I am learning how to crochet.
Nobody asked.
I know. Thanks. All right. No, I am trying to learn how to crochet. And I made I started to make a scarf, a scarf to wrap around your neck. And I was just going to town and getting the groove. And next thing I know, it's like 8 foot tall. So I got the scarf done and I thought, I'm gonna crochet, learn how to do them granny squares and make a hat, attach it to my scarf. So I have a hat and a scarf all in one for these balmy days we're having. So I made one of the squares and it's beautiful, turned out perfect. And then I made the second one and I don't know what happened. I don't even know. It's bigger, it's different, and so so that whole square it's got to be all ripped out and done again.
So Granny got, I don't know what happened.
Whacked
to Granny.
out. Granny got whacked. So anyway, I was doing that, and then I went over. I got a rental property available, and I cleaned it all up, and now it's ready to go. And
Oh, you got pictures?
I do.
Yep, she
I
sent them to
do.
me yesterday.
Okay.
They're going
So
on the
we
internet
will
today.
get that online shortly. It's an efficiency tiny house. So,
There's a lady that's asking about it, so you could send her the pictures.
Yeah.
all right. So anyway, that's kind of my weekend. I got one of those was it ductless units in my kitchen that's struggling right now. So
Oh, speaking of that, guess what I forgot?
oh my gosh.
That's right.
Anyway.
I'll go get it.
No, it's all right. So just bring it tomorrow. So, anyway, I'm praying that I don't lose my heat in my kitchen.
Don't you have a wood stove?
I do. I can use that for backup. It's small though, and it goes real quick, and so I constantly got to feed it
Microphone.
wood, and I'm just not that kind of consistency.
What about electric heater? Just a
Well, yeah, I've got
space
two
heater.
of those.
Microphone.
space heater.
I got two of those, and guess where they are? Yeah, not at my house.
Yeah, we had to use them. We borrowed them because we didn't have any HVAC, but now we have HVAC, so I got to bring them back.
Yep.
I might steal our greenhouse heater though.
No, that's my outside heater.
I know my chickens need it.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I wondered about them. I was
What about a
wondering if
heat
you could.
lamp?
Well, they're actually fine from what I've researched. As long as they have somewhere to go to get them out of the elements.
You need
and
straw on the
I
floor.
do. I have it all.
Oh, do you? Good.
As long as have a place for them to get out of the elements and away from the wind, they're fine. They have their feathers. They'll cuddle up. They'll be fine. Because I was thinking about running a heat lamp out there too. But as long as you just have some bedding and a place for them to get out of the wind and the rain and all that, they're good.
I
They'll
don't know about
survive.
this cold of temperature.
Well, that's
I
what it
think you
is.
don't need them too warm.
No, they got their feathers and then their other feathers and the feathers under their other feathers and.
Have you ever
they're pretty good.
tried to cut that skin? Man, it's tough.
It is.
So,
It really is.
so yeah, they've got feathers and pin feathers. They
Yeah,
call
something
it.
like that.
You know, so
Down. Chicken down.
he said, "How do you get down off an elephant?"
Chicken down. All right, Nathan, start us off.
Sure. So the quote of the week is the best way to predict the future is to create it. Abraham Lincoln. I like that.
Yeah, he was a Republican. I'm excited.
Yes, he was, and everybody said, "Oh, he's a great president." Yeah, but the more you know.
Yeah, but times were different then, so
Yes,
you
yes, they were.
gotta remember that. So, but yes,
That's what a lot of people don't realize. Is it depends on the times. What was
Mhm.
acceptable then, and,
Right.
You know. So,
Right.
There you go.
right. So, we got big changes happening. When does the inauguration happen?
20th.
The 20th. So,
Oh, yesterday, Kamala Harris had to preside
I
over,
thought that was so funny. I seen it.
over certifying the election. So, did you hear whenever she was in in the Senate and she was leading the Pledge of Allegiance, she couldn't even say it. So,
Oh well, we're headed.
Seriously?
yeah,
She didn't know the pledge?
No, she started out, I pledge allegiance.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I missed that.
I mean, it wasn't to the flag. It says to the states. And then she said, United States of America. She never even said the flag.
Oh well, we're getting those nut jobs out, so I'm excited.
Yep.
So,
And good things to come, hopefully.
oh, I seen a comic on Fox. You know, I'm sorry, I watch Fox. But
I thought that was the whacked out channel.
No.
Oh, that's the good one.
it's one of the good ones.
Okay.
They were having portraits of the presidents, and they had a picture of Obama, and then President
Combo breaker. It's an old meme, old
Okay.
gamer thing, where they have a picture of all the white presidents, and then Obama comes up, and they were like combo breaker. It was great. I'm sorry.
and then they had Obama, and then Trump, and then it comes to the one, and it's Biden's staff. It's not Biden; it's his staff.
Jeez.
Well, somebody had to do it. He wasn't confident enough. All right, we got to go off this.
Okay, no.
All right. So, what do we got going on in our community, Pat?
Oh, there's not very much going on.
Well, it's
'cause
too
so
cold. Nobody wants to get out.
And I tell you, I woke up this morning and there was this song in my head. Don't know why, don't know where it come from, but it was I like beer.
Oh my gosh, Pat! I like beer too.
Well, I quit buying it after it got to be $15
A what? What do you
a
buy?
12-pack
Oh,
bottle. Anyway,
I like beer.
and that's
It
why
used to be my theme song.
and I don't smoke because it's I used to smoke, but I don't. Too expensive.
That's true. Gosh.
Anyway, the events for this coming week today is the grand opening of Family Roots Chiropractic.
Yay.
So it's a new chiropractic opening up. It's today from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. at 339 West Gain Street.
I probably should have been there.
So do you know where 339 West Gain Street is?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You asked me. That's
Okay. And then Thursday, January the 9th, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. is the January Chamber Coffee hosted by Southern Tennessee Regional Health Systems. at the women's entrance, it's a meet and greet with Ree Perry, which is a guy. Okay. And then on Thursday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. is dinners at Keystone in Loretta.
One of these days, I'm gonna have to get out there to eat there. I hear it's good, so I've just never been there.
I've never eaten out there. I've been there a couple times. We did pictures for, or maybe just one time. We did pictures for Clarissa's homecoming or prom or one of those.
Graduation.
No, it wasn't. It was homecoming or
Oh.
prom, and we went out there to do pictures before the dance.
Oh,
That's the only time I've ever been there.
yeah. All right.
And that's it.
Oh wow, not a
Yeah,
lot going
that's
on.
what I
Everybody
say.
stay home, stay cuddled, stay warm.
We're supposed to get 1 to 3 inches Friday night.
Oh my God, there's no milk and no bread at the stores already. I'm sure.
Already.
I think that's funny.
Yeah.
We got to go grocery shopping.
For milk and bread.
Yeah.
I do. I'm out of milk, but anyway. All right. Well, we have not one, but not two, but three special guests today. And first, we're going to start off.
What?
Yeah.
Well, there's two.
Ryan and Ben.
Oh.
No.
All right, just making sure. I only got two ready, so you scared me for a minute.
All right. First, we have from the Chamber of Commerce here in Lawrence County, President and CEO Ryan Egly. And along with Ryan, we have Director of Economics, Ben Barnett. So I was so excited. It is a pre-recorded interview, but they were great. And if anybody is wondering about our community, what our community has to offer, what our chamber, I just have to say, is amazing. The hard work that they do and the diversity within the departments as far as tourism and economics and growth and numbers and collaborations. I mean, it's just amazing how our chamber operates. And I think that all has to do with the staff that we have. So I'm excited, and stay tuned and check out Ryan and Ben. I am finally here with the president and CEO of the Lawrence County, Tennessee Chamber of Commerce. And also with him, we have, it's Ryan Egly.
Yeah, that's me.
Ryan Egly. And then with him is, I can't remember the last name.
Barnett.
Ben
Barnett, yes.
Ben Barnett, which is the Economic Development Director. And sorry, I butchered that all up. So anyway, I am so glad to have you both on the show. And I know you guys are a wealth of knowledge, and kudos to you for an outstanding Chamber of Commerce. I've worked in the nonprofit sector for a long time, still kind of am, but the chambers that I've worked through in Ohio and in Florida are nothing like what we have here. And I am so proud of our chamber, and people need to take advantage of our Chamber of Commerce because you offer the public, just the general public, all kinds of services and knowledge, and you're just a wealth.
Yeah.
So welcome to our show. I'm so excited.
Teresa, we're so glad to finally be here.
Yeah. Yes.
It's been a little bit of a scheduling nightmare,
Right,
but we're busy,
right.
like you said.
Absolutely.
Our chamber is all over the place, and there's a lot of good things happening in Lawrence County.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to say thank you. You've been with us since day one in
Yes.
this community. In fact, I walked in, the first thing I noticed were all your membership placards on your door. And then, of course, I noticed your Ambassador of the Year award from 1920.
I'm very proud of that. That was a
Absolutely.
shocker
Of course.
to me. So yes, I am very proud of that. So the only thing is obviously mornings are an issue.
Yeah. Hey, I don't blame you. I'm here with you on that one.
Absolutely, especially coming off the holidays.
Right,
and-
right.
yeah.
So in tractor, but anyway, so tell us a little bit about what you do within the chamber,
Sure.
what your role is.
Sure. So I'll start with kind of what the chamber does, if that's
Okay,
all right. So
fine.
we're a very holistic chamber in that we're not just membership. We're a public-private partnership, and we're tasked with not only, of course, engaging businesses because we believe first and foremost, as a community, we are the company or companies we keep.
Mm-hmm.
We want to engage businesses, but we also want to recruit businesses, and we do that through economic development. That's our primary kind of role, and really also purpose. We want, incomes to be increased. We want more jobs. We want better education. We want more experiences, more retail amenities, and all those things that make a good community, a greater sense of place even. And we do that in a few different ways. We do that with traditional industrial development. So that's kind of mine and Ben's bread and butter. I've been there now 10 years, which is wild to think about.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. It's
Wow.
pretty insane. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
10 years this year, actually. And we've seen a lot of change. When I got there, we actually also added tourism marketing. And so that's something we're working on. We actually drive the Visit Lawrenceburg brand. And so we're excited. We're actually hiring for a new tourism director right now.
Oh, cool.
And that they're going to really push us forward to the next level. And we're very excited for that. And then, of course, we have just our leadership with programs, which is a really big deal for us because we believe in the next generation. And so every year we have a leadership cohort. We have a civics education program that we partner with the U.S. Chamber on. The National Civics Bee is what it's called. And we engage middle schoolers all the way up to high schoolers. And then, of course, the adults with our leadership program. And so those are kind of the three main things: tourism, leadership, and then industrial development. And then we believe all that together does or creates that economic development strategy, excuse me, which then underpins everything that we do. And so, but daily, day in and day out, we live and die by the calendar.
Yeah, it changes all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never the same day ever.
I know. That's ours is the same way.
Yeah.
I could walk in and all of a sudden have 3 showings I got to go to that I didn't even think I did. So, yeah. I get that.
Yeah, people think a lot of times we're the government. We're not the government.
Yeah,
Right.
we're not the government.
Some people think we're real estate agents. We're not real estate agents. But
What, do you want to be? I know a good company.
I've heard of this one company. But it's a lot of fun. Ben's in charge, and I'll let you explain, but a lot of our research and project management.
Yeah.
So talk through
Yeah.
what that looks like, Ben.
Perfect. Yeah. So again, Director of Economic Development. I've been in this role since July of last year. Previous to that, I was the project manager, and previous to that, I was the intern. And so anyways, I've been almost 4 years now, 3 years and probably 9 months. So it's coming up on 4 years. But day in, day out, my friends ask me this, like, because all they see me do is travel, right? All they see me is like out of Lawrence County. I'm like, no, that's part of it, but that's not totally it. There's a lot of days, a lot of weeks where I'm in the office just grinding away. But I do a lot of the business recruitment. We also have, our business retention programs as well. But as far as business recruitment, I deal a lot with the RFIs, the request for information, when prospective companies are looking to relocate, expand, just move to the Southeast. A lot of those times we'll get those RFIs, and so part of my job is filling those out and returning those to whoever it was that sent it to us, whether that be the state, whether that be TVA, straight from a site selection consultant. So that's part of my job. Also, data pooling is a big part of my job. I was never a data nerd until I started working at the chamber.
With Ryan?
Yeah,
Because he
and I
is a
blame it on
numbers
him.
guy.
Love the numbers.
I blame it on this guy right here. It's a blessing and a curse.
Uh-huh.
Because people are like, why do you know that number? It's like, don't worry about it.
Right.
Just don't ask. But other than that, I mean, just staying engaged with our elected officials, maintaining that presence at the Capitol for sure is a big part of what we do. And that's always a throughout the year type of thing. Also with our partners across the state. And I think one thing that really has set us apart, and Ryan can speak to this more because he's been here longer than I have, but in just my 4 years of being here, one of the things that really takes us to the next level is that we don't focus on just what we do. We look at what other communities do. And so another part of our job is learning. I mean, it's just communicating with people outside of our community, look at what other economic developers are doing, what other elected officials are planning, and seeing how we can somehow integrate that into what we do. Because, sometimes you like to think that you have it a little bit figured out, but you really don't.
No.
And when you start talking to other people, there's always a better idea. There really is. And so,
or different, maybe,
Right.
maybe
just
not
a
better,
different,
but just a different
perspective,
approach.
a
Right,
different perspective that a community that may be 2 times as small or 2 times as big is doing that may be able to work for us. So yeah, that's just another part of the job as well. But it's a whole slew of things for sure.
Cool. It sounds like a whole plate full of lots of stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
What is and I don't know who will answer, but how important is it to connect with our local government, like our local mayors and city managers and county managers and all that? And how do you all work? What's the benefit of working together with them?
Sure. So I'll take that one. If that's all right. So I'm really proud that we've got good elected leadership in Lawrence County. And I'm proud for those people for putting their name out there because these days, especially, it's difficult. It doesn't matter if you're the county executive, the mayor, the road superintendent, the register of deeds, just to put your name on the ballot, that takes a lot of guts. And so thank you to all of those folks. But it matters, right? You're talking about people that set our budgets. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but and especially in a legislative position, you're just on a committee. It's no different than being on a board or a committee at your church or the country club or whatever that is. And your job is to direct, public public money, and you make key investments. And that's what, from our side as the business leaders and organization, we want to see our local governments be as efficient as possible with our money, and then also make sure they're making the right investments in the right places. And so to engage them, that's why it's important, right? And we do that just by simply knowing them. We go to church, we see these folks in the grocery store. We do host some pretty cool events. We started one last year that we're going to grow this year. It was called State of the County. Last year we kind of piloted it. It was a small group. This year will be quite a bit bigger. We're going to open it up to the public, and the director of schools comes, the county executive and the mayor comes, and they talk about, hey, here's what's going on in the city, just to get information out, because they can't make the right decisions unless the public is also informed about what they're doing. And so part of our job is to help balance that. But of course, our interest is the business community. That's who we represent. And so, if businesses have issues, whether it's like, hey, I'm wanting to paint my building downtown, and I have to navigate the historic zoning process, we have contacts there that can help with that. So that's why it's important on the local level, especially. In fact, I was having a conversation with Pat in the lobby a little bit ago about, real change happens locally. The Fed doesn't come and take your trash out. Right.
What with business coming in, and you say you do recruitment.
Yes, ma'am.
You're not recruiting to be a member of the chamber. You're recruiting to bring businesses here.
Yes,
what's the hardest part about that?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. The hardest part is, depending on how it's facilitated, a lot of it is just the beginning process, and it's the emails back and forth constantly. A lot of times you'll see a project that is the RFIs coming straight from the company, and we actually had this conversation earlier in the truck before we even got here. Sometimes they don't know what questions to ask. They just want to have an RFI so that they can take it back and somehow, through all 30 RFIs, go through and down select, however many sites they're wanting to. With consultants, they know what to ask, and so the questions and the emails back and forth are not near as many. I will say, trying to figure out what direction the company is wanting to head into. Utilities is another big one. A lot of companies, they'll say that they have X amount of utilities that they're going to be needing, when in reality it's not. And so, just corresponding them with our utility system, I would say those two are probably the biggest ones. It's funny. I'll say this about Magna. So when we're going through that project process with them, I never thought I would learn as much about railroads as I did with that project. But I feel like I could write a book on railroads now, and how it functions, and rules and regulations and all that stuff. But I would say those two things for sure are probably the most difficult. It's the takeoff is really what it is.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, because at the end of the day, what we find is if a company comes and visits, and especially like the leadership and their family, Lawrence County is such a special place. And I'll say all of Middle Tennessee, all of Tennessee, this area is special. And so we have someone dedicated at the chamber full time to deal with the hard part, to make sure we try to make it on the list. Once they come here, it gets a little bit easier, right? And so I like to say it like this: like Ben, he's in charge of all the facts, even though I love the numbers too, and I have those stored away. But my job is kind of more the feeling side. You know, like are we greeting people? Are we rolling out the red carpet? Are we making people feel special? And then also showing them like, hey, this isn't just a sales pitch one time. This is actually a community that's going to serve you ongoing. And that's another reason our local government and governments, I should say, and our local businesses invest so much in the chamber. We've grown quite a bit, and because we're able to effectively show that, hey, yes, your business works here factually. Also, this is a great place to do business, and you should feel it too.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
What do you find is the biggest holdback for companies coming here?
I would say two things. One, mainly, it's just the housing. You know, just not having enough housing for workers. Because a lot of projects that have been coming through lately, you know, we've seen a lot of the we used to have projects that were 500, 1,000, 1,500 job projects coming through. Now we're seeing more of the 70 to 100. You know, they still need houses for those workers. I mean, some of those are already going to be existing Lawrence Countyans.
Right.
However, there are going to be some relocators with that company, and so housing for sure has been the one of the biggest concerns. I wouldn't say blockers, but concerns for companies.
Yeah, and communities, especially on the housing front. A publication was put out yesterday, the Tennessee Economic Development Guide, and I noticed a lot of our sister agencies have included like new housing permits in their advertisement because it's that big of a deal. And so we've been talking about housing for years now, and we commissioned a study actually last year, and it revealed that we need 1,300 new homes over the next 5 years, and it's doable, right? Like and so we think slow and steady wins the race, and I'm very pleased. You know, talking just with the Lawrenceburg planning officials, you know, I think we have not all the way through planning, but at least ideated, or at least they've engaged planning for 900 homes and apartments in Lawrenceburg.
I know you had the meeting, the builders meeting. Great segue, thank you. And the Nathan and Holly was in attendance to that meeting, and we learned a lot. Even though I wasn't there, I learned a lot. And but the one thing, because I'm sitting on the fence, I hear both sides, and the one thing I hear is, well, we need the people with the jobs before we could build the houses, and then you guys are saying we need the house before. How are we going to rectify this issue? I mean, what's
the
going
chicken
in?
or the egg?
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Correct. So what are some thoughts with that?
So I think it's a both and thing. So, and I say that because I think there's an existing demand, and our young people. So I'll start there.
Yes.
Our young people want to stay. 10 years ago, it was a little bit different story. It was kind of more of a brain drain scenario. And if our viewers aren't, familiar with brain drain, it's the idea that, someone graduates high school, goes to college, never comes home. What we're finding, and I was actually talking to Jason Grayson a few weeks ago, and he was talking, I was like, how's business? And he said, this is the first time that I've noticed like our young people aren't leaving anymore. And I would attribute that a lot to, we've grown our educational footprint with our local community college, our technical college. Of course, University of Tennessee Southern's done a great job. UNA, of course, is growing. And so people are more apt to stay home because they can access the educational and training needs. The problem with that, and then everyone wants to complain, is, they're living in their mom's basement or their grandparents' basement or whatever that is. So to balance it, we have to have housing. It's not a question, and it's not even for the new business. It's for our existing people. So that's number one. The balance, though, the building and they will come, partly is true, in that, especially on the industrial development front, if you don't, or actually just a sales front generally, if you don't have houses to sell, guess what? No one's buying houses.
And I don't get to pay my bills,
Exactly.
So yes.
Exactly. And so part of our job is to develop new industrial sites for those companies. And so that are looking, and it's funny, everyone's like, well, put them up in some empty building. I'm like, what empty building?
Right.
Like there's no
there are no empty
there's
buildings.
no vacancy. And so as we do that and companies look, we better be finding the next spot for the next apartment complex or subdivision simultaneously. Then it's up to the business, whether you're a developer or an industry, to say, okay, let's do this. And I'm okay if we have a 3 or 4 years of, hey, we're going to be heavy on the job creation. Housing will catch up organically. Housing is a little bit harder to catch up though if the industry is not there. So you have to do them both at the same time. And I know I didn't answer your question directly.
No, you did.
But okay.
You did. You did. All right. So where do you see now? Where are we heading? Let me start all over.
Sure.
What was the best part of 2024?
Oh,
That's a very good question.
I've got my favorite in my head.
I have my favorite too.
Okay, you go
share.
first.
Okay, so we certified our newest industrial park in 2024. With Magna being here, they actually secured our only certified site at the time, and so we didn't have another certified site.
You need to elaborate on what
yes,
that is.
Yes, thank you
you.
for saying that.
Uh-huh.
Yes, so a certified site it's through the state of Tennessee. It is a program that basically tells the company, hey, this site is shovel ready. Due diligence has been done. If you want to be here, the ground is ready to go.
Okay.
And it's perfect for development, basically. And so, anyways, that was the last certified site that we had owned. And even after Magna had landed, there were still companies that were interested in being in Lawrence County. And so, we can show them greenfield sites all we want. We can show them buildings. But if due diligence is not completed, and more importantly, it's not certified by the state of Tennessee, they don't look at it as intently as others.
I get that.
And so for us, certifying that site, kind of it's almost like a fast pass, right? So it's like it almost automatically takes you to that second level,
Right.
And shortlists you.
I get that now.
For
Okay.
a lot of projects.
Yeah.
But that's probably my favorite thing, best part of 2024.
Yeah, and it's a good learning process too. I enjoy that process. I've been through it a few times now, and it matters because I think the best customer service is product knowledge. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And so that process, understanding the environmental and the are there any Indian burial grounds on the site that we need to avoid?
Indian bats.
Bats.
The bats.
Bats?
We know a
Oh,
lot about
yeah.
bats.
That's where.
That's interesting. Anyway,
Yeah.
but my favorite part of 2024 was our organization turned 75 years old, and man, it's such a privilege. One, I think it's the best job in the world but to work on behalf of businesses and behalf of our community in that way, and then to steward it with this organization. It is, it's the privilege of a lifetime, and we did that in a big way. We had our 75th anniversary. We had more than about 450 people downtown, and I think we did it right. We celebrated well. We honored a lot of great people, and looking back on that will be something I'll just never forget. In fact, I was at dinner with friends the other night for New Year's Eve, and we always play a game for dinner conversation. And we're like, all right, what's your peak and pit, right? What was your peak of the week and your pit of the week? What was the good time? What was the bad time? And they asked me, what was your peak and pit of the year? And I was sitting there thinking about it. And my favorite part, because I'm a leadership junkie, I'm a big nerd, but we honored Steve Hill, who served as our county executive. He serves on the chamber board. He's the chairman of the joint board. And we created the Steve Hill Legacy of Leadership Award. And
Nice.
so not only was it that event, but that specific moment, it was just so special. And it's one of those things I'll never forget. So 2024, I would say that was it for me as far as my favorite. But now I've got to ask, what was your favorite part of 2024?
My son getting married.
Okay.
That's what I'm
And I
talking
gained
about.
a daughter-in-law, and I gained grandkids, and that was my favorite personally. Business-wise, again, I'm going to put it back on my son. He's learning to take over the business. I'm
Okay.
going to be retiring,
Exciting.
and
About.
he is going
Oh,
to. Him and his wife are going to be taking it over, so I'm excited about
Awesome.
that. We've got a 2-year plan,
Nice.
and in 2 years, I'll be retired. So
Oh, what are you gonna do with yourself in the retirement?
I'm gonna ride my motorcycle.
There you go.
Doing it
I've
right.
got a Harley, and I'm just gonna ride, and Cody and I, and we're just gonna have fun. So,
yeah.
and just travel and see what's out there that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Good.
So
love
this
that.
year for me is just still building that knowledge with Nathan and Holly, trying to kind of capitalize on my legacy and make it the best I can to hand over. And, I'm a small little mama store, and we're non-corporate, and we hold our own, and we've had now for 9 years. And so I'm pretty proud of my company also. And it's been struggles, and we've gotten through struggles, and we always survive. So that's what I'm proud of. I got a great real estate family here with my agents, and we got a great home in Lawrence County. And I can say that because I could have been anywhere in the world when I moved we went from Ohio to Florida. From Florida, then we could have went anywhere, and we chose Lawrenceburg. And I've watched Lawrenceburg grow, and I've seen it from, when I moved here, barely anybody would use a check card. I was so surprised, and then we've evolved from that. So I'm proud of where I live. I'm proud to call it home. I am so proud to share it with clients coming into our area. We do a lot of Zillow, and with Zillow, we get inquiries from people everywhere. Yeah. And I am so glad. And the first place I send them is the chamber, the website, because they can learn so much from our website. And I think the Chamber of Commerce website, you feel the heart of our city and the heart of our county. And you really see what we're about. And I really like to share that. And I'm proud to share that. Yeah. So anyway, that's...
Yeah. Well, it's like we were talking about earlier. It's more than just numbers, and there's a ton of information on there. Yes. But it's also that feeling, and how do you capture that, right? Because being from here, hometown kid, right? Like, it's hard to say, like, yeah, we have great fundraisers, and like every community does that. But I'm like, no, I don't think you get it. Like, we build miracle fields and colleges, and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like our people are so generous, and to demonstrate that and invite people to be a part of that, it matters, and we're seeing the results of that, and that's what's funny. People are like, yeah, we're the ones that go and recruit businesses and help and hold their hand, but it's really our other businesses and their networks, especially our real estate agents like you, that are the hands and feet out there saying, hey, let's tell the story. And so our job is to also equip you to do that. So I'm proud to hear that you're using our website.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So now that we kind of put a cap on 24, what are we looking for 25?
25. So this year is going to be a fun year. So we're celebrating a big milestone of our 75th. So we're entering year 76. And so we're kind of asking the question, like, what does the next 5, 10, 25 years look like? And not just for our organization, but for our community, of course. And how can we best serve that? So this year, we're going to go through a strategic planning process. We haven't done that in a little bit. And so we're going to engage our businesses and just kind of ask, what do you expect, what kind of services out of this organization? Then also, what's your wish list, right? Like, I go into the high school all the time, and they're like, I'm like, what do y'all want? And of course, they're like, we want a Chick-fil-A. And I'm like, I get it. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into
an Italian restaurant. While you're out, we need an authentic Italian. Yes. Just need to put that in there. So, go ahead.
Noted for sure. But in 2025, you can see us doubling down on our main events. I mentioned also the State of the County. We're going to grow it. We have annually a women's luncheon, and we are so excited this year. We're expanding it to a women's week. And so we're going to have the luncheon, but we're also going to have a series of other like awesome opportunities for our ladies in business to engage other businesses. So that's Jansen and Kristen and Maddie in the office. There's a whole committee that are planning that. It's going to be great. Of course, our annual golf tournament, it's in May. That'll be great. We do our agriculture week. That's also expanded beyond just a breakfast to celebrate our farmers, but we also raise money for ag education scholarships.
Nice.
So we do a farm to table in the first or second. It's the first week of June this year. Yeah, that Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Our annual meeting will probably be in September, October. It hasn't been set yet. But it'll be a more traditional annual meeting that we normally do. Last year we went all out. We'll do something similar because everyone really liked it.
Maybe not as upscaled. Maybe.
Yeah. The quality will be there, but yeah, 450 people. I hope we get that same crowd because it's so good to celebrate people together. Yep. And then of course our small business campaign happens around the holidays to encourage everyone to shop small. So that's kind of what the year looks like for us, but under the undertones of all that is a lot of planning and looking ahead. Going back to even the housing and industry kind of chicken and egg conversation, we find ourselves at a point now to say, okay, like the housing is catching up. There's a lot on the books. We're still seeing some industries kick around, but what else is needed? What are we missing? You know, because we want to make sure we're meeting all the needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what did I miss? Did I miss anything?
Economic development.
I mean, it's going to be an extremely busy year for sure. Last year, it was a pretty slow year, especially at the tail end.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of companies were strategizing, regardless of whoever was elected. They were strategizing, making their plans, and are waiting for 2025 to actually execute that. So maybe not January, maybe not necessarily in February, but March, April, May, those are going to be extremely big months. I could see for companies looking to either relocate or expand for sure, especially in the Southeast. The Southeast is the most desirable region in the U.S. for industrial growth for sure. And so, and you know, the state of Tennessee, we're a very pro business state, and so a lot of those companies see that, and again, we happen to be on the list for a lot of those projects, and we have great utilities. Lawrenceburg Utility Systems is one of the biggest contributors to a lot of. They're the ones that make us look good.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we like to say, but we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of projects coming through in 2025.
Do you have any kind of little secrets up your sleeve that we could learn about?
You know what? I don't think I do today.
It's a Friday after the holiday. All the secrets are back in
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, anything else that you guys would like our audience to learn, know, share? Anything that I haven't asked that, I mean, I wanted to know.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. So I think number one, and you've said it at least implicitly, and so explicitly, I'll say it. We're a resource for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, our office is open 5 days a week. Our website is there all the time. Our social media, we have a pretty heavy following there, and we put a lot of information out. And so if there's anything that we can do to support, I don't care if you're someone looking to relocate to the area, or a business looking to invest, or if you're an existing business that has an issue that we need to help you tackle, we're glad to do that. And so in 2025, you know, as we kind of plan our New Year's resolutions, and of course we all want to do better,
right?
Keep us in mind, because I think we have some resources that can help businesses be better. So.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for being here, and I look forward to another year and having the chamber and having the chamber have my back and helping me grow my business and in many ways. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the way that the face of the chamber has changed. You know, you guys are young and energetic and full of ideas, and that's like, you know, with me handing down my business, they're young and energetic and new ideas. And I really feel that's what we need. And I appreciate that as well. So thank you so much for what the Chamber of Commerce does, and you personally. And have a great and blessed 2025.
You too.
Thank you too. Thank you too.
Hi, we are back. We were watching the interview here at the studio. I want to say a big thank you to Ryan Egly and Ben Barnett from the Chamber of Commerce here in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. And they are a big, big asset to our company. So thank you so much for being here and giving us that information. We will have them back, and we will do updates. So thank you again. Now, my favorite topic is numbers aren't sexy, but they tell a story. So here we go. The numbers are from December 31st, 2024 through January 4th. Currently, we have 149 listings with an average list price of $370,284. We have 5 coming soon with an average list price of $363,280. Under contract showing, that means where the seller is allowing showings and backup offers. And we have 6 of those with an average list price of $262,117. Under contract not showing, that's where we have happy buyers, happy sellers, and we're headed to close. And we have 4 of those with an average list price of $272,670. We had 8 expireds and 6 canceled. 5 closings that week with an average sold price of $297,600. List price to sell price percentage, that's the number I tell everybody to pay attention to. Sellers were getting 95.27% of list price. From the time I put the sign in the yard till it went under contract took 83 days. From the time it went under contract to close took 60 days. So all in all, it took 143 days to get those properties sold. This time last year, which was December 31st, 2023 through January 6, 2024, there was 6 closings with an average sold price of $213,317. Interest rates. Everybody's watching interest rates, and interest rates now are on the rise a little. And remember, interest rates are based on you and what you look like financially. And a 30-year fix is 7.10%. A 30-year FHA is 6.34%. A 30-year VA is 6.45%, and a 30-year USDA 6.60%. These numbers are brought to you by Mortgage Loan of the United States. Currently, we have little over 4 months of inventory. If nothing else comes on the market and we sell everything that's listed, we'll be homeless with nothing to sell. And those are our numbers. Numbers aren't sexy, but they do tell a story. Yay!
Okay.
So now that you have gotten the numbers, you've heard from the Chamber of Commerce. Now we're going to listen to, we have one more pre-recorded interview with one of our preferred lenders. He is from OVM Mortgage and right here in Loretto, Tennessee. And we're excited to have him as one of our preferred lenders. And I'm excited to introduce Kyle Partin. Kyle Partin. Sorry, Carl, I butchered it. And
Carl.
Wow, I'm doing really well. How about Kyle? And Kyle, we are so glad to have you on the show, and let's stay tuned to see what he has to say.
Years now, working in a lot of different spaces, whether it be
With Kyle, and Kyle is one of our dedicated lenders for our office, and I'm so exciting things are down the road for him and us. So welcome to the show, and we're
market challenges and other items
Sure.
that people want to know about.
The first thing that I feel every rates. How are you seeing interest rates right now?
Interest rates are a little bit frustrating. We have gone now through a 3-year trend in October. From October 1st to about October 21st, we've always seen the 10-year treasury go on a rampage, and it's set actually the highest point in which the 10-year treasury has been for the year. This one trickled a little bit further into November with it being the election cycle, not knowing which administration, which policies are going to be done. But some of the things that we're also seeing is some inflation in jobs numbers that weren't really there. If you look from May of this year to May of last year, they were off by about 800 and something thousand jobs. And unfortunately, the market moves on those initial reports, not the revisions that show that, hey, we're 50,000 left, 100,000 less from where we planned on. But some of the good things that we have coming up is that when we look at CPI, PPI, PCE numbers, these are all these are all reports that the federal administration looks at to kind of get a better understanding of inflation. We always look at it from a year-over-year perspective, and so as we move into a new month, we're dropping.
We are back. We had some technical difficulties in the beginning of Kyle's interview, and I want to make sure that we give it justice. So we're going to rewind and try it again. Hi, today we are with Kyle, and Kyle is one of our dedicated lenders for our office, and I'm so excited to have him on the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about loan programs that he offers, maybe do a little bit of myth bustings, and see what kind of exciting things are down the road for him and us. So welcome to the show, and we are excited to have you here, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, thank you for having me.
Sure.
My name is Kyle Partin. I'm with OVM Financial. I'm a sales manager and senior loan officer here. Been working in the industry for about 4 years now, working in a lot of different spaces, whether it be qualified mortgages, the market moves on those initial reports, not the revisions that show that, hey, we're 50,000 left, 100,000 less from where we planned on. But some of the good things that we have coming up is that when we look at CPI, PPI, PCE numbers, these are all reports that the federal administration looks at to kind of get a better understanding of inflation. We always look at it from a year-over-year perspective. So as we move into a new month, we're dropping that previous. Now in October, November, we had really and so all we did was replace them with slightly higher values, which made the year higher values, but when you look at December's, January's, 2023, these are some very, very high inflation numbers that are going to come down and be replaced with very moderate to low numbers, going more towards the Fed's goal of 2% inflation year over year.
So what would, and then that will cause our interest rates to?
It should create more perception between the investors that are buying into the 10 and 30-year treasuries, the bonds, to have more of an idea that, hey, look, my money's not going to be outpaced by inflation once I get to maturity of that bond. So nobody wants to wrap their money into a 30-year opportunity to make X of amount of percentage when that money is going to be devalued based on inflation 30 years down the road. So this should give consumer confidence that this is a good, safe place to reinfuse your money and get a great return on it.
If you had a crystal ball, where do you think rates? Like I talk about numbers aren't sexy, but they do tell a story. And I talk about interest rates, and we kind of talk about what the base rate is depending on themselves. And what do you think with the new administration, thank God, and the interest rates and where we think inflation's going, where do you think those numbers, I mean, and I know it's a guess and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but let's pretend you did. Where do you think those numbers are gonna, are we gonna stay in the 5s, or are we gonna stay in the 6s? Are we gonna hit those 8s again? kind of what's your gut?
My gut tells me that we are on our downward trend. It's not pretty. There are going to be hiccups and bumps all the way through, just like if you look at any stock, there's never a trend directly up. There's always ebbs and flows on the way up, and we're on our ebbs and flows on the way down. We've just happened to hit an ebb on our way down through October into November, and that's why it's kind of feeling like, hey, what are rates doing? Why are we feeling stagnant or slightly increased? It's just that big breath that the market took with the 10-year treasury moving. I'm thinking we're going to probably be back down to something with a 5 in front of it by springtime. Everything having a 5 in front of it.
I think that, and my gut says the same thing. I think that's where we're going to be, and I still think low 6s are great.
Correct.
I mean, we went years in the 6s, and then all of a sudden the world had a catastrophic event, and it just skewed everything. But I don't think, in my gut, and listening to the people that I listen to and all those people that are smarter than me, I don't know if we're ever going to see those 2s and 3s in any time soon. How are you feeling about that?
So I want to address the first thing you said.
Okay.
You said smarter than me. So we talk about smart money all the time in this industry. And when you start looking at interest rates as they are today, a lot of them have discount points associated with it. There's not really a par rate anymore in the market. What that actually truly is the investors understanding that, hey, look, we're not going to be able to hold on to this on our portfolio for the 4 years that it takes us to break even. And so they're trying to mitigate some of their losses up front with the establishment of the loan by having those discount points involved in it. And so that tells you right now that smart money already knows that you're going to refinance well before we get to 4 years. And we're really talking more close to 12 to 18 months from the origination point that you're going to be in a market situation where you're going to be looking at a refinance.
All right.
Now, the question about the 2%, the 2% was an anomaly. The reality is that, we had our, of course, huge consumer confidence. We were buying into our bonds. We had our Federal Reserve buying into our bonds, but we also had Japan buying into our bonds. And when you have another country that's finding this yield spread between those so valuable to put their money into, you really get something that's not natural. And so I think, our normal playing range to really stay in a market that is substantiated where it can go for a long time is you're probably looking at about 3.75 to 4.5. 4.75 is a normal running range for the market. And anything above that is just showing slight increase in inflation where we're having more restrictions from the Federal Reserve, and the lower that we go, the more strength that's showing that the market really has.
And I always talk about our money needs to earn money also. And so when all of those rates are all lowered and you see those lower interest rates, that means our money's not making as much money as we should. I mean, you put money in the bank and you CDs and investments and all that. And when all those rates start allowing them to be lower, we're not making any money. And if we're not making any money, those that are investing, too, aren't making any. So it's just a vicious cycle.
I think a trend that you may see down the line 20 to 25 years from now are mortgage holders or servicers that are going to call their individuals when they're at a $45,000 balance and start working on a negotiation strategy, because with the way that the loan normally works, where it's amortized, they're getting a lot of their interest up front, and it's slowly deteriorating and going more towards principal than interest towards the back end of the loan. So when you're already talking about something where they had a 2.25% interest rate, they've made their money, and now it's costing them money to service that loan when you pay employees, mail services, and other things. And so they're going to try to mitigate their losses there by having some type of an agreement payoff that's going to be beneficial for both parties and get out of that situation quickly.
I never even thought about that. That's a good thing to think about and to remember. Nathan and Holly sat in a meeting with builders at the Chamber of Commerce, and they talked about a lot of need for new construction. Let's talk a little bit about new construction. Spec homes versus custom homes. There is a difference there, but talk about how a loan works with a new construction and kind of what we're looking at as interest rates and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And how different is it than buying a used home? Yeah, I
Absolutely.
guess that's what you'd call it, a pre-owned home.
Well, the interest rates are no real different from buying a new purchased home with a builder or buying a home that, say, was built in 2015 and a homeowner's leaving and you're purchasing it off of them. Interest rates are pretty much going to be very, very similar in that manner, but the idea of inventory restriction is huge. That's why we have seen inflated levels of interest or of equity gained on homes in just a short period of time, is because when you have 8 qualified people and they all need a home, the only way to outset yourself to that seller is to throw more money at the situation. And now you've inflated everything that's similar to that within a mile radius on their value, because now this newest comp is $20,000-$30,000 higher.
Absolutely.
And where is somebody going to start with their next listing? They're going to say, hey,
Right
look,
there.
I validated a home is worth this. This is our starting point. And now those other 7 people are fighting over that and making over offers again. You kind of see that a little bit in the construction market, but more incentives. So builders are really trying to be on the upfront, whether it's rate buy down or free concessions towards, having a full downstairs of hardwood floor versus just in the living room. They want to incentivize you to get in. So a lot of times there's great opportunities there. But we do need that extra inventory. There's too many people that are needing homes and that need to get into a solid residency like that there's just not enough opportunities, and they, in some cases, feel defeated.
I think one of the things right now, we've got 5.4 months of inventory, which sounds high, but when you look at what inventory's out there, it's either a tear down, and have to put up a new house, or it's so high on the price bracket that your normal buyer, first time home buyer, somebody that's working 2 jobs and one of them has to, maybe at a fast food, it's just, so the spectrum is either, from one end to the other. It's that middle that we need desperately. And, when you look at the inventory, we think we have a lot, but we really don't. And so it is all about supply and demand. When you have such a high demand, which we do, and less homes, then you create that frenzy, and it goes right to that pricing then to make you stand out. You offer more, the appraiser appraises it for that more, which that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so tell us a little bit more about if I'm a buyer and I know nothing about buying a house. What are the things I need to do? What are the things I need to, what that I can expect?
So the first thing is we're going to look at credit, not only at score, but credit history. So we want to clean up areas that are very easy to kind of manage through. And I know for some individuals right now, credit card utilization is on an all-time high. We're at 1.3 trillion across the country, highest marks that we've ever been at. We've got a lot of these programs where it's buy now, pay later, set up in 4 payments, get yourself into a situation, but we want to keep those credit cards and revolving credits under 30% utilization. It's showing the credit industry that though we have the ability to use it, we're not overusing it. That is going to help jump your score up. And of course, making payments on time. One of the things that we want to be very cautious of are these new schedules of payment for student loans. Those are going to start affecting the market a little bit differently than they have in the past. COVID has had provisions, whether you're going through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, that you would only consider either 0.5% or 1% of the total value as the monthly payment when it shows 0. Now, as payments are going to start being instituted, instead of seeing a payment that would say normally have been $43, that one loan item now may have $160 a month obligation to it. So those are kind of things that we want to pay attention to and make sure that you're not behind on. Once you get behind on anything federally, you have a dirty cavers. And once that happens, until that's satisfied in full, or a payment schedule has been made with the IRS or something like that, you're really not eligible for any of the government loans, which give you those lower down payments and those lower credit score requirements to become a homeowner.
And what are those loans? Those are FHA?
FHA, VA, USDA are all government insured loans.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that investors really like because there's a form of protection for default. You're going to get a better credit score for those and lesser obligations to get into the loan. In some cases, you can even do 100% financing and really have next to nothing to the table. We've had with some seller concessions, some lender concessions, and a fully 100% finance loan that somebody's got into a home for about $400 out of pocket. Of course, when you go those directions, you do take a little bit higher of an interest rate because you're a little bit riskier, but it does give the opportunity to those in need of getting home ownership that don't necessarily have the assets saved yet to really get into a position of putting 20% down with, like, say, a conventional loan, so you don't pay mortgage insurance.
Right. And I was just going to say that mortgage insurance is something that I think people don't really understand. They hear insurance, they think of homeowners insurance, which this is far from homeowners insurance. PMI insurance, if you can explain a little bit about what private mortgage insurance is, and if there's a formula of what that cost would be.
So there is a formula that becomes that smarter money conversation. Right. A lot of it's based on risk and how much you're putting down, loan to level pricing. And so the more you put down, the less you're going to pay in mortgage insurance. Homeowners insurance protects the bank that in the event that something takes place with your property, that you're going to be able to restore it so that you would continue to pay your payments. If it burnt down to the ground and you now don't have a home, you're not going to pay on it. The private mortgage insurance is a protection to the investor who purchases the loan to get paid back a majority of losses in the event that you were to default and walk away. That way you're not having tons of companies that are going bankrupt because 3 or 4 homes stop paying their money and they owe $1.4 million between the 3 of them.
Right.
This company would have a hard time navigating that. And so these government loans give them the opportunity to feel safe with, as you're making your payments, if something traumatic happens in your life in the beginning and you end up having a default, leave, or maybe even a death in the family where you're no longer making your payments, they're not foot with the entirety of that loss. The federal government has provisions in there, and there was pricing in it. USDA has some upfront pricing and 12-month policy with it. FHA has a funding fee that gets rolled over into your loan. It's 1.75% of the loan value gets rolled into the loan after the down payment, and then you pay mortgage insurance. In most cases, it's 55 basis points on the loan amount per month. Basis points, sorry, I use a quick term. Basis point, 1 basis point is 1/100%.
Okay.
So we've learned to break that out. We work in smaller numbers than 1% in most times, and so we've just created the term basis point for it. But with FHA, you have pretty much a fixed decision. If you are 3.5% down, you're going to pay 55 basis points. That's your calculator for it. If you're going to go 5% or higher, you're going to end up having 50 basis points. Now, when you start getting into the realm of doing conventional loans, that's where we really start seeing a big change in that. Whereas if you're in a risky property, like say a condo, and you're paying only the minimum 3% down with a home ready or a home possible, you're going to have a higher factor with your mortgage insurance because you're at the higher spectrum of where the highest risk is for them. Now, if you're coming with 15% down, you're going to have a much lower factor and a much lower monthly cost for that PMI because you're almost to the end. With a conventional loan, once you're at that 78 to really 80-20, but legally they have to drop it at 78%. You no longer pay mortgage insurance. At that point, there's enough equity in that property for that investor to feel comfortable with. In the event that you defaulted, they would at least be able to get the money back that they owed, if not overage to that.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, a conventional or a loan where I'm putting 20% down, I'm not probably going to have PMI.
Correct.
Okay. So any down payment less than the 20%, which then brings us into, you don't really need 20% to buy a house.
No, ma'am.
You can buy a house like we talked about with 3.5% or even 0. You know, there is some programs there. So there's lots of opportunities for different calibers of buyers to be able to buy into real estate. And then you'll be able to, like we talked about, refinance. If you didn't get the ideal rate, then you refinance a little bit down the road, and then everything, it gets leveled out. So talk about the steps on buying a house. I kind of went off kilter a little bit, but when I'm thinking about, I'm laying in bed and thinking, I do not want to pay rent anymore. Where should my mind go?
Mine should start going towards, the credit aspect. How is my credit? If there's need for improvement and you don't know what to do, reaching out to a lender is a perfect opportunity. The right lender is going to work with you to establish a game plan and a timeline that works best for you and your family to get into that credit qualifying position based on what your opportunities are. Where if you have a lot of assets, we may not be looking at a first-time home buyer platform. We could go ahead and go now. We can go as low as $550 with an FHA loan. Or if you're needing support with the assets for a down payment or closing costs, you're looking at something like Tennessee Housing and Development Association. We have a couple of unique platforms just directly with us, $8,000 down payment assistance. But those are going to require a slightly higher credit score, most starting at about 640. And so first thing I would think about is credit. Then it would be, where is a comfortable budget? What a lot of people like to do is they like to reach out and stretch out, how much can I get qualified for? And the reality is that when you move into home ownership, you now take care of all the expected repairs on a home. And that's nothing to scare anybody about. But the reality is that those are going to exist at some point in life as a homeowner where they wouldn't have as a renter. And so coming up with a comfortable budget and understanding and speaking with a loan officer on that can definitely help you put yourself into a much better position to buy a home and then to not feel house broke while being a homeowner. Just to kind of the value of buying a home. My first home that I bought, which I was extremely scared of, and I did way too late in life. I believe I was 30 years old at that time. I bought a $215,000 3-story townhome in Virginia Beach. And in 4 years, I was able to sell it for $255,000. So it was a very large profit on what I actually paid for it. And realistically had very minor repairs that were associated over those 4 years, but that equity is now mine.
Right.
Whereas a renter, the money is all in the investor's hand, and you're paying their mortgage, their taxes, and there's nothing really to show at the end of 4 years.
And there's so many benefits in owning a home too, and and building your own portfolio. And so versus renting, the advantage I see with renting is you're not responsible for all of those repairs, and you can leave, and 9 times out of 10 they'd mow your grass and all that. So that it's an easy living, but you pay for that leverage, you pay for that convenience. Home ownership is a way to build your portfolio, to build your picture financially, and to grow financially. So I always encourage people to think about rent versus buy, and if there's any way possible to buy. And I talk to them about, or we all do, about what your budget is, and just because you pay $575 worth of rent a month, let's look, you may be able to pay a little bit more and still save for those repairs, still save.
Absolutely.
I already talked to them about, if you eat pizza, go bowling and eat pizza on Tuesday night, and you have for a year, you're still going to continue to go bowling and eat pizza. So you need to make sure when you do your budget that you budget that in when you look at your house payment, because you don't want to be house poor. And so that's why we always talk about what they look like financially as far as a budget. And I'm glad to hear that that's what you guys do as well. What other kind of loan programs do you have that would be intriguing for our buyers today?
So first off, we work in a huge space now with Annie Mac Home Mortgage, where we're not only just your out of the box lending. There are individuals who, for one reason or another, may have not told the government everything that they've earned with their business. these individuals are going to have a challenge because we look at the taxes and we look at what the tax band was allowed to be taxed on,
Right.
and that's what you get to be qualified on. Well, we have bank statement loans. A little bit different of a process. It's considered a non-qualified mortgage, just meaning we don't go through the standard Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines in qualification. We look at 12 or 24-month bank statements, how much assets were applied to there from the business, and we can calculate that. I actually had a guy who only qualified for $1,700 a month traditionally, but when we did the bank statement loan, he was $16,000 a month of qualified income.
Wow.
So he was able to get a home that suited his family and his business. We just went a different track and way with that. That being a little bit riskier of a way to qualify a buyer, there's a little bit higher of a consideration for minimum credit score and down payment requirements. But there are other options out there. We have an $8,000 grant. We have a 1% down payment option where there's a lender credit for 2%. To cover that 3% minimum with conventional. THDA has a ton of beautiful products, especially if you're a VA buyer that's moving into the area. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer to take advantage of THDA. There's just a lot of options. You just need to know getting with a loan officer that's going to be able to help walk you through those steps and educate you on what's available out there so that you can make the best choice for you and your family.
All right. So, Kyle, what is the most unique opportunity or a unique way to borrow or try to get qualified with you?
So actually, we have a cash to keys platform that we really identified in the market when interest rates were down. There were not enough homes, too many buyers, and it was really hard to make your offer stand out. And so we created a platform that basically, as long as you go through underwriting with us and you close with one of our preferred title companies, we allow for you to go make that offer with our private equity firm's cash. You are giving the seller exactly what they're looking for, which is no contingencies. That's removing a finance contingency. That's removing a home sale contingency. Buying as cash is going to give you that opportunity to stand out to that seller versus the rest of the pack. Sure. Really giving you that opportunity to pierce the market and not overpay and not lose out by trying to hide the fact that you have something that's less desirable, like a finance or home sale contingency in that bid situation.
So then when my agent, like myself, or if I'm the buyer and I go to Teresa would be working with you as well, and we would be putting in a cash offer. Even though they're doing a finance.
Correct.
We would still the buyer's qualified enough to where then you're confident to say they're good to go, just go in like cash.
Through underwriting, what we're going to do is you're going to write the standard contract you normally do through your local organization. We're going to provide an addendum to remove that finance contingency and put those protections on there, provide proof of funds that we can buy this. And we even guarantee that sell for the seller that once we're past any contingent points, like a home inspection or an appraisal that was agreed upon in that contract, my borrower could die, get fired, buy a Lamborghini and disqualify themselves, or just get cold feet and walk away. We are obligated to buy that home for that contract price. So that protection to that seller lets them know that, hey, look, nothing is going to take place negatively in that buyer's life that's going to affect the sale of my home for me to be able to move forward with my life. That's the type of protection that sits your offer on the top of the table. I think it's some statistic like 63% of our offers were not even the top offer. Mm-hmm. It's because of those lack of contingencies that let somebody know that there's comfort in I'm moving forward with my life in the timeline that I anticipated and that I planned for. Because they may have a job in another state that they need to start for. Right. If you're military, you've got a hard date order of, being at your new post. Mm-hmm. They don't care whether it's taking you a little bit longer to sell your home or you had an offer that fell through financing. They don't want to hear any of that. This is that opportunity to really stand out and make sure that your offer is accepted so you win your dream home and cut out, all the competition.
I forgot about the seller aspect of that. About, if something happened to the buyer, it's still, that's a good.
We identified this follows eBay and Amazon's coming to market. eBay was the only thing in town and it was great. It did a great thing. Amazon came out and said, hey, look, we hear the public's concern. You're worried about if you don't get what you like, we're going to go and now refund your money. Mm-hmm. Ever since they did that and put that protection towards that buyer, they are now the largest e-commerce center and by far the best way of going e-commerce as well. That is what we've done in the real estate market is we've just created a better way to go to market. And we are even protecting the seller in process of accepting this new trend.
That's very cool. Very cool. And what's that called again?
Cash to keys.
So if I'm interested or one of my buyers, we're just going to call and we're going to say we need to get qualified for cash for keys.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Ton of information, like always, and education. So, all right, if somebody needs to get a hold of you and talk to you about lending, how do they get a hold of you?
They can reach me directly on my cell at 757-717-5806.
And that number slower?
It's 757-717-5806.
Perfect. And are you out on the web anywhere?
I am. That one's going to be a little bit more challenging. It's Kyle Partin, kyle.partin@ovmfinancial.com. OVM, Oscar, Victor, Mike, financial.com.
Thank you so much again. And let's chat. We are back. Woo, what a show. I know it's long, but lots and lots of great information. Thank you, Kyle, for being here and helping us understand more of the mortgage world. And thank you again to Ryan and Ben from the Chamber of Commerce. We had a great show today. Want to say thank you to all our viewers. Don't forget to go to YouTube and like and subscribe. That way you can get all the updates, and we would love you for that, everybody.